Hey everyone, it's Kai.
And Lafayette, and this is
The Theory of Living. Thanks for tuning in. We're able to bring you this episode thanks to our Patreon members.
Patreon is a subscription-based platform where people can provide support for content creators like us.
Thanks to our Patreon members and supporters, we're able to provide free content on the podcast and weekly episodes.
By being a Patreon member, you'll have access to our entire podcast library, full video and audio episodes, along with much more.
If you like this episode and you feel it adds value to your life,
or you hate it,
please subscribe on Patreon and or leave your review on Apple Podcast.
And don't forget to mention it to your friends over your next beer. Truly, thank you again, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah, we're back in the car again.
But guess where we are this time?
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll. Phoenix, Arizona, our favorite place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a joke. It's not bad, but not our favorite place.
Right.
If I could be anywhere else in the world, it'd probably be Thailand. Which, by the way, as you know, we're going to. We got all our things approved.
Yes.
So come Thursday evening, we'll be getting on a plane to go to Albuquerque, and then to Dallas, and then finally Japan, and last but not least, the land of the Thai. Beautiful Thailand.
Very excited. Very excited. I mean, obviously we have to test, get negative test result, but,
I'm confident we will.
Yeah. But if not, we're going to be back in the car again.
So much to look forward to as a listener out there.
Yeah. So, today, episode 9, I'm really proud of ourselves, doing a 9th episode, which is not easy, I think. And today, we're going to talk about anime. Yeah. So, first of all, I think it is necessary to define what anime is, right?
Shorthand for animation, but traditionally related to Japanese animation?
Yes. So, anime is obviously just derivative of animation, but I think over time it has gained its very own definition. And the reason we separate anime from animation films is that it has so many unique characteristics, right? And I think this is why it's not unfair to limit the term for that of Japanese rather than, that of any provenance.
I would agree. It's specific and a stylistic choice to communicate a message that is derived from Japan. So to call other things anime might be doing them a misjustice or, misrepresenting that rich history that probably a lot of people don't know about. That's been going on since the early 20th century, right?
Yes.
Early 1900s.
And obviously, all the anime work is not completely separated from, their traditional visual art, right? So I think that's why anime is so unique in its own way, because it has so many cultural aspects of the country.
I think here for the longest time, I think this is changing, but most people had a negative connotation associated with anime. And again, it's probably the people that, the vast majority of people that enjoyed it seemed to be, I'm just looking for a better word than the one that comes to mind, were termed losers. Not to say they were losers, but there is a stereotype, I think, associated with people that watched anime. I do think that's changing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were times when if your kids watch, anime a long time ago, not these days anymore, parents were not happy with it, the fact that they were watching anime, because again, unlike all the cartoons here, the subjects they explore are a little bit different, right? It could be a little more sexual, it could be a little more violent, things of that nature. So that's why a lot of parents were, they were not happy with their kids watching anime too much. But I mean, today I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah. Do you think that came from a place where a parent would see a cartoon
Mm-hmm.
and they would immediately, you kind of summarize in your mind what consists of a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
For people in America, a lot of the time it was Disney. So,
Mm-hmm.
your kid can watch this. But when they saw the Japanese animation style,
Mm-hmm.
they knew it was so varied that they couldn't adequately, for lack of a better term, protect their kids from the potential material in
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So they were just naturally apprehensive
Mm-hmm.
to it rather than investigating. 'Cause
Right.
you and I both know there's a lot of great animes out there that
Mhm.
are applicable to every age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest aspects of characteristics of anime, that it really targets all ages. It's not
Mhm.
really specific to kids or, I mean, obviously, even Disney movies these days, I think they try to do the same thing, appeal to adults as well.
Mhm.
And obviously, we can enjoy that, but also still, I think there's a lot of difference,
Yeah.
between anime and Disney movies here. I'm not targeting negatively here on Disney, but I'm simply saying that there are still a lot of differences, even though over time the Disney movies have become a lot more similar to anime in terms of how the industry works. For example, the merchandise, it really reached to all the categories, cultural categories, like merchandise, TV, and games
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But still, they become really similar, but still there's a lot of difference.
Yeah. As far as I know, Disney hasn't really engaged yet into the more adult content. The closest thing, right, would be probably Marvel, but they're quickly acquiring so many different
Mm-hmm.
branches of media and companies. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say their animation hasn't really.
Mm-hmm.
They've never made a movie that's been animated for adults. I don't think. Maybe there is. Maybe you could suggest it.
Right.
As far as I'm aware, though, there are no strong adult-themed Disney
Right.
animations.
At least we can say that largely this is true, not arguable, that largely that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why, we still distinguish anime from a lot of cartoons and animated films.
Yes.
Yeah. And, that is why it is crazy international popularity too, because they are different. Right. And, but before we start to talk about anything, I like to say that it is just impossible for us to talk about all the anime films here or TV series, because even if we intend to talk about just important or popular ones, still there are hundreds. So we
Be here all
cannot
night.
really mention everything. But I'd like to start with.
Wait, hang on. Before you start,
Yeah,
what about our intro music? Our theme song?
our theme song.
Just like in anime. You telling me we're not going to have a cutaway of us, like, fighting each other and, obviously we're predispositioned and destined to fight?
Right.
Some cool music?
Yeah, for sure. I'm open to it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Roll that clip.
Does somebody work for you? I don't think so.
It's just you and I in the car.
So you're telling me to do it.
Now he's getting the message.
But I think it's important to touch on the history briefly, right? Because that's going to give us better understanding of, the subject anime here, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to know where you came from to actually have a rich understanding of the complexity.
Mhm.
It's easy to just pull from what we know right now
Mhm.
with our bias.
Yeah.
You can miss out on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So I think, it is not so meaningful, in my opinion, to all the way go back to where, sort of this animated or animation industry started. It's kind of relevant, but I think that's not very meaningful. But, we can go pretty close to the beginning when Toei Company was founded in 1956. So after World War II, the guy named Okawa Hiroshi, he was so impressed by the first Disney's full feature film, Snow White,
Mm-hmm.
in 1937, if I'm not mistaken. He was so impressed by it that he founded the company with a mission to be the Disney of the East. So I find this very interesting because Japanese they developed almost all industries in that way. Copying first, learn first, and then create their own. But those become, I don't want to say superior, but excellent.
Yeah.
Let's think about electronics. At first, largely they copied a lot of Western products.
Yeah.
But Sony, has become, one of the best electronics company in the world.
Yeah, for
and
generations.
The same thing goes to automobile companies too.
Yeah.
Toyota, right? And so that's why it is so interesting that even anime developed in that way too. This guy was so impressed by Disney's, Snow White. By the way, what I was told about this Snow White is that when Walt Disney wanted to make this film, everybody was against it. Dude, that's crazy. That's so expensive. What are you doing? But just like a many breakthrough in the history,
You have to take the risk.
you have to take the risk, and nobody really saw the value at first.
Yeah.
Right? The T model by Ford. Everybody thought that is crazy. Why are you doing that? That's so stupid. You that expensive, and then you can carry only 4 people.
Yeah.
Whereas,
trains.
Yeah, trains. Look at
thinking?
that. But it just changed the world, right?
Entirely.
Yeah. So I that's why I found it really interesting. Even anime developed that way.
I think a big part of that is because, you might be dealing with the same ingredients, but the cook is different, so he can use those ingredients in a different way. In this situation, the cook's different because he's Japanese, so he has a lot of tendencies and culture within him that are going to essentially produce a different meal with the ingredients.
Yeah.
You can see somebody like, dude, that food looks amazing. Where are the ingredients? I want to know how to make that.
Yeah.
And then he can put his own twists and turns on it. Maybe use a little more salt, a little less pepper, salt, and all these different things. And then you get something that's an entirely different product just by varying those degrees.
Yeah. So basically, I think briefly talked about this before about postmodernism. That's sort of the very essence of postmodernism, right? It's it is not only creating a new value, but recreating the existing value, right? So in that sense, anime really fits that the characteristic of postmodernism.
Yeah, I would agree. They've stepped out on their own limb to create that and then reassociate it properly for that culture, and wow, it's had a huge impact. It's nobody doesn't know what anime is.
Right.
At least in the U.S. and probably worldwide for the most part. Yeah, you may not have watched it, but it's in the zeitgeist. You're aware of it, and that's powerful. And just think, only there was 1907 was the first they draw it back to. So roughly 100 years, it now dominates an industry.
Yeah.
And has a strong presence, especially among young people in the U.S.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just going to grow and change more and more.
Yeah. I was going to talk about a little further in history, but I think it's not important but it'll be interesting to talk about your favorite anime before we get into this.
Oh, my favorite? I hate being put on the spot. So I don't see things in such binary terms, buddy.
Well, what are the favorites?
Okay, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Has to be Death Note.
Okay.
It's basically Sherlock Holmes, anime styled, in a very creative and unique way.
Right.
And I think anybody, if you have an interest in anime, you like a good story, that's the one to check out. Because you'll forget you're watching anime. That's how good the story is.
Yeah.
And they've done so many adaptations of it. I'm sure some of you saw the Netflix adaptation. Shit sucks so bad, man. It was so bad. You have such a great story, and you literally just can't do a shot-for-shot remake. Why not? So for me, it may be not the most impressionable one by any means.
Yeah.
But one that I constantly think back on and recommend to people because of how brilliant the story was.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, the geniuses battling it out. There's moral questions, ambiguity, and a lot of things that are just tied to philosophy as well. And they explore those concepts in a new and unique, interesting way. And it's just cool to see that play out via animation.
100%.
How about you?
I was gonna move on.
Yeah, see that?
I mean, I have so many, but with some recent spice, One Punch Man for sure. Because first of all, without its story, the visual it reminded me of Dragon Ball a lot. Yeah, so that's why I liked it a lot. But also the story is crazy. I mean, so funny. And
really funny.
Yeah, it says also satire for I don't know exactly white collar man, but the working class, So I really like that. And currently I'm watching Demon Slayer. I mean, obviously I love that.
That was your Halloween costume, right? Who were you from Demon Slayer?
One of the Hashiras with white hair and scar on his face, but yeah.
So if you want to see that picture, let us know.
Pleasure members only.
Wow, now that sounds sexual or something. You have to pay for it to see this picture? Seems weird, man.
Yeah. But going back to the history, so the toy company, surprisingly, they had a lot of, now we know the legends, great talents at the moment. One of them was Miyazaki Hayao. Right.
I mean, everybody listening to this, if you know anime, you've probably seen a Miyazaki film.
Yeah.
Or that name because of the fame.
At least know his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I mean, obviously he co-founded Studio Ghibli later. But anyway, so after the time, I'm gonna jump onto the next biggest moment in the history of anime, which was, in my opinion, the first Japanese TV anime series, which was Tetsuwan Atomu, better known as Astro Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the significance of this in the industry of anime is that, again, it was the first TV series, but also it was a mega hit. And it really started an anime boom, and merchandising became entrenched as a big part of the industry. Yeah.
So they showed it could be successful.
Oh, yeah.
They basically broke that barrier.
But still they had a lot of problems, especially high production costs. That's why they started merchandising and all that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a time period when every scene was physically drawn by hand.
Yeah.
You didn't have computer-assisted programs to actually
Right. And the crazy thing is that still, that's how a lot of animes are created today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big teams or...
Yeah, that's why, even put aside all the, stories and, the genres, still visually, they look so different. I think that's why. I don't know, honestly, Demon Slayer's created that way because it looks so different. But at least a lot of them are still today created that way.
Yeah. Demon Slayer's the number one grossing now in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Beat of all of Miyazaki's films and everything. Wow. Granted, there's a larger percentage of the population engaging.
Right.
So it's not like necessarily a fair representation 1-to-1, but that should speak volumes to how many people actually enjoy anime now. And you've put me on to some of the Demon Slayer, but I haven't watched it. But yeah, the animation style is very different, and the fight scenes are, from what I've seen, pretty incredible.
Yeah.
A lot of detail, a lot of color, and contrast and saturation. Beautiful. Very well done.
And the creator of Astro Boy, Tezuka Osamu, he's called the god of manga. And I like to give him a lot of credit because at the time they suffered a lot because of a high production cost, but he reinvested his income from manga publishing. So, I mean, in a way, he kind of saved entire industry. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
Wow. God of manga, huh? I've never heard of this god.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm just uncultured swine, though.
yeah. And then I guess the next moment is probably this new trend emerged that challenged the status quo of the industry. That up to this point, still, even in Japan, anime was considered children's entertainment. But the first TV series, Space Battleship Yamato in '74, it became a social phenomena.
It's like a space opera, kind of like Star Wars, huh?
Yeah. I forgot the story again exactly because I watched it when I was, I don't know, like 6, 5.
Wow, a long time ago.
Yeah. So I forgot the exact storyline, but that I wanted to mention it because, again, that really changed the image of anime, even in Japan, that, okay, anime is not just for children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they added adult themes and tones and maybe color schemes that spoke.
And this is when anime really started to gain its international popularity. So that's why I think this one is, pretty important to mention.
And that was what year? 78, you said?
74.
74.
Yeah.
Okay. So Speed Racer was before that? Because I know that had some popularity as well. But this one was a movie, right?
No, it was
a series?
It was TV series. Yeah.
Ah, okay. There's so many things I haven't seen.
I think I could be wrong, but I'm like a 99% sure because, like I said, I grew up watching it. On TV. So, back then, I mean, there was no option for, DVD and things like that. So so everything is from TV, right? That's when I also watched a lot of Disney cartoons as well. We had, when I was in Korea, when I was growing up, 7 years old, 8 years old, the only thing, we had like 3 channels nationally. And then one of them showed for an hour on Sunday morning. I still remember, like 8 a.m. in the morning. And they showed a few Disney cartoons for an hour. And sometimes I had to miss it because I had to go to church. I don't go to church anymore, by the way.
Isn't it nice to have all this free time back?
Yeah.
Man, I'm not worried about burning in hell.
Yeah. And obviously, growing in a traditional Korean family, I don't get to fight for it, If I'm told we're going to church, okay, turn off the TV and
boy,
go to
you
church.
Understand me? You're going to put
Yeah. But what about you, man? I mean, when you were growing up.
When I was growing up, I'm trying to think of the first time I saw anime or anything animated Japanese style. I mean, the only, because I grew up traveling, right? So I didn't have access to media. Some of the stuff we saw was, whatever you could get with the ears, but a lot of places you just didn't have that ability.
Yeah.
So it was, VHS tapes, and then eventually DVDs when those came along. The first thing I can remember actually having any type of real impact was Dragon Ball Z. And that was back when I was in the States, and it was on Cartoon Network, Toonami.
Yeah.
And they showed that. And I always had liked martial arts because I grew up watching Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee movies. My dad was a martial artist and wanted me to be a martial artist. So seeing that taken to the next level was so cool. It was basically watching Rocky in anime style, except over the top and talking about martial arts and kind of like the discipline and spiritual side of it. And I thought that was so badass. Me and my brother would get home, turn it on, and we would get so pumped up. We'd be like, ah! Start yelling, and then start beating the shit out of each other with like cushions, like so stoked that it's on.
Yeah.
And I remember one scene in particular, like way later when the series got not good in my opinion, but Goku's son, he's teaching his girlfriend how to fly. I remember getting out of my bed and trying to do it. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's try to make it happen.
Right.
And, well, I gotta say, it happened. I can fly. I have the power. And you too. You too. You have the power.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball obviously, man, has... gigantic impact.
It changed the genre.
Yeah, and also it's crazy that like even today for a lot of guys, like Goku is the perfect example of the perfect physique.
Yeah.
Right. I that's what's crazy to me, that that one anime can impact on so many categories of a culture, and we actually experienced it growing up.
Yeah.
So like that's why we can see that a little more clearly. Maybe that's not the case to younger generations, but we're fortunate enough to really experience that from beginning of gaining popularity to all the way to today.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Still dominant in popular media and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I'd put Goku right in their list of, heroes, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, all these guys that I idolized, physiques and action heroes and stars. Goku is 100% right there to me next to them.
Yeah.
Like, incredibly inspiring and had a huge impact on my life, which is, it's not silly to say, but it feels silly to say because it's an animation. But again, movies are just movies. They're not real.
Right.
Anime is not real in that regard, but the values you can pull from it and the effect it can have on your life are extremely real.
Yeah, very impactful.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, none of us on Earth will reach that level ever, right?
Wait,
even
buddy.
the physique.
I'm getting there.
But I mean, isn't that parallel to how we want to live? That you have an ideal. You may not reach that in your life, but you strive to reach that ideal state. Still, that's a very meaningful journey, and you can gain a lot of things from it, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, I think in that sense, Dragon Ball or a lot of animes have made very many positive impacts.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of negative impacts.
I mean, I'm sure there are.
No, there are tons, because they can misrepresent, people in reality, and then people start to imitate these people, but that happens in movies too. It happens in every popular culture.
And made really close brothers fight each other and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Oh man, my brother and I have a story like that. He always likes to relate us to a couple of characters from something. So, yeah, very impactful.
Yeah, for sure.
We see these things in our life, these images, or maybe these paths and roles we can play, and for whatever reason, when they're agreeable to us or they speak to us, we seem to play that role.
Yeah.
Which, it's just cool to see that in anime. There's a lot of relatable material there.
For sure.
And things are definitely blown out of proportion sometimes, but exaggeration can be fun, enjoyable, outrageous. It could be everything. And it has its purpose.
Yeah. So speaking of which, let's talk about its impact, cultural impact. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier a little bit, it permeates all the culture categories: music, movies, TV, games, you name it. I mean, games, even not just video games, but card games. I mean, you name it, right?
Oh,
I mean, there's so many. Yeah. Okay, we're back again.
And we were talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, so we're talking about it, anime as culture impact, and we're talking about that. The Pokemon is a perfect example that anime permeates all the cultural categories, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but it was originally a video game. Yeah, it was a video game for the Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I never owned one, but I wanted to own one, but I never owned one. But after its success, its trading card game was created and was introduced in North America, and was turned into a TV series, and later to movies, later to mega hit game Pokemon Go, which uses GPS and AR to realize the original slogan, "Gotta get 'em all," right? I mean, as far as you know, it's the biggest media franchise in the world today. in terms of success and highest grossing anime film in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. Everybody, more than Dragon Ball Z, everybody knows about damn Pokemon. You gotta go get them.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, how many people visit Japan because of anime and manga? A lot of people, right?
Oh, a lot.
I mean, does that really happen in this country? I mean, do people come here for Disney movies?
People come here for Disneyland, but that's about it.
Well, I'm not saying there isn't any, but the level of the popularity that drove people to their country because of this one cultural, product is just not even comparable.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. I mean, you hear Japan and instantly instantly anime is one of the things that comes to mind. You don't hear the U.S. and instantly think Disneyland. I would say there's probably a minority of people that are that way. Again, the U.S. is huge, but it just shows the impact that anime's had. That's almost synonymous with Japan anime.
Yeah. And, I think also, one big difference here is that, I mean, Disney has grown so much, right? I mean, they have Marvel now, MCU, and so many just, franchises there. But as we know, it's been affected by Chinese influence.
Yeah, they're one of the largest markets in the world. So a corporation that's primary objective is to make money rather than just purely entertain will obviously give in to the market demand.
Yeah, but as far as Japan really hasn't done that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard anything about Japan in that regard.
I think that's great. Whether or not you like anime.
Oh, but they actually do.
What?
They censor a lot of things. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess certain category genre is not permitted, but still, to the level of
Yeah, I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
Hentai, people, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about that. So one of the cultural impacts is anime targets all ages, right? I mean, we briefly talked about it. And I have this own experience in Japan. When I was in Tokyo, super cold, I went to Akihabara, which is a famous anime and manga shopping district. And then I went into this store because it was really hard to miss. It was a big store, big building, like 4-story building, something like that. And I went in there in the evening, and I immediately noticed that, I'm not kidding, 99.9% of the people there are men, white-collar men, in suits, ties, and, the crossover bags, right? So, like, that alone right there, I was just blown away what's going on. I mean, I kind of knew the popularity and, the difference in the country. I kind of knew it, but still, that
shocking
was really, shocking, cultural shocking, moment for me. And so I kind of suspected, maybe this is just the wrong store. And so I got into an elevator and immediately like a 4-man, got in really small elevator, super tight, and they're not talking to each other. They're not looking at each other. And then that's when I realized that, this must be a hentai store.
Oh, shit. That's why they're all businessmen.
Yes. But
gosh.
Also, even though that's a shocking moment, but also what I observed there was some commonality. Because they were reserved, they were not really talking to each other, and they were, I didn't feel anyone is being judgmental there. So that was another a thing that really shocked me. But also, when I said a commonality, I mean, I'm talking about that. Taciturnity, reserved, when I grew up in Korea, so obviously Japan and East Asia, especially Korea and Japan, the Confucianism is
Prevalent?
Prevalent. I mean, pretty much shaping in entire countries, cultural aspect. And I was told that not necessarily being reserved, but less talking as a man is virtuous. It's not that you shouldn't talk in front of people, but you should be careful with your words.
Choose every word carefully.
Yes. That's why a lot of people, I think Asian people, tend to be quiet. It's not that, I don't want to talk to you. Most people, I think.
Yeah.
It's that they are taught that that's virtuous.
It's interesting because I'm sure there's a disconnect between some generations, so a parent's generation could be always implying that to their kids or sending that message that don't talk, but without saying why, it's virtuous. So then somebody who doesn't develop the skill of speech or social interaction may think themselves a naturally reserved and timid individual, which may not be true because they've been weighed down with this value system that they're unaware of or why it is. So they're passive in the value system rather than making active choice to be engaged in that value system. If they choose it, if they say, yes, I agree. I would agree. I think choosing your words carefully is a very valuable skill set. But that doesn't mean you don't need to say a lot of words.
Yeah, true. I mean, I certainly don't think that that's, more virtuous than how the culture sees that aspect. Of course not. It's just different.
Yeah,
and different. Knowing the difference is important to understand why they behave that way, right? Again, before I said this, a lot of people might have thought that, Asian people are just reserved, they don't like to talk, they don't like to socialize. But yes, maybe some of them are like that, but a lot of it largely has to do with their virtue. So that's why knowing the difference is important to understand. Even, getting to know that person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you can communicate in millions of different ways, not just speech.
Right. Yeah, so that was a really interesting thing to experience and observe because, again, that taciturnity is common, in other East Asian countries as well. But also that, socio-cultural acceptance or norm of hentai for adult man, is very, very unique to Japan. It doesn't exist in other, East Asian countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Getting to the cultural aspect of sexuality. What's the appropriate display or response to it? I guess that would be another episode to get into, but it is incredibly different. It's funny when you were saying that, there's businessmen together. There used to be shops here, and there still are shops here, I imagine, where you can go and, view or buy pornographic material.
Yeah.
I, however, would never believe or expect if I walked into one of those places, it'd be a whole bunch of dudes in business suits. Businessmen that are successful. Yeah. That's a pretty big separation factor. Yeah.
So, that also speaks to the popularity of anime in the country, right? Despite all that Confucius values, still it really truly reaches all the ages, So I think that really in turn, speaks to the fact that anime is not just for children.
Yeah.
Truly for all ages.
Yeah. One, I think, reoccurring theme that I see in the animes I've enjoyed, which just don't get represented very well here in the U.S., is friendship. I don't think there's a lot of movies that, or TV for that matter, and again, I just haven't seen a lot probably, that really celebrate friendship and put them as one of the highest values in life. The highest virtue one can obtain in a lot of these animes is friendship and not giving up on somebody.
Right.
And love in turn.
Yeah.
And the people you meet along the way, which I really just have dug about anime my entire life. I thought, that is so cool. Most of the time, everybody's on an adventure. And they're rarely after, or I should say, rarely what they're after is the ultimate goal at the end. It ends up being the relationships and the bonds they made with friends and the people that come along the path. And I feel like that really speaks to me because that's really what I value in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to see that represented in a different culture, which again makes me feel almost alienated from this specific culture in some ways.
Right.
Because we just don't share a value system on most things.
Yeah.
So that's
100%.
awesome. That's one thing if you feel uncomfortable in your culture, not that necessarily anime is where you have to go look, but you can go look in other cultures in modern day.
Yeah.
And you might find something that speaks to you more truly or touched by it. And it can inspire you to live and lead your life in a specific way that's more rewarding.
Yeah. That's really a good point. You know, you don't have to love anime, right? I mean, we're not forcing anybody to love anime or watch anime, but I think it's just really a good opportunity to learn other cultures and what they value. You know, it's all about really learning new values and experience it.
Yeah.
You know, so in that sense, you know, if you haven't watched anything yet, I recommend I'm just kidding. But it's you know, that opportunity, like, is similar to traveling. You know, when you go there, experience it. Obviously, watching anime is more indirect way to do it. But traveling, when you do, one of the best things is that you experience the new values and culture, you know?
Yeah.
And then you learn a lot from it, right?
Yeah.
So, obviously, anime is not the... I don't know why I keep saying this, but I'm not telling you to study anime, okay?
I mean, we don't even watch that anime. It's from time to time, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
not anymore. We're kind of busy these days, but I try to watch all the things that I like, you know, Attack on Titan and, you know, Demon Slayer.
Oh, Slayer, yeah.
Yeah. Demon Slayer. I try to watch those because I like them a lot, but, I mean, still, I don't have a lot of time, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, Demon Slayer, really funny thing is that I watched the TV series first, and after the first season, I'm like, I want to know more, you know, so I bought manga and I read it. And then when I was reading, oh my God, it just, you know, all the good memories when I was young reading manga just came back, dude. It was so cool experience. It just, you know, I was just amazed by the fact that all those memories and good experiences don't really go away. I mean, it's always there. All you have to do is just access it, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, reading manga was great experience because when I was growing up, Dragon Ball, I read manga first, you know, because my cousin had all the series. But also when I was in high school, I loved the Slam Dunk and, you know, all other things. So I would read that in class.
Good student. That's why we're in a car right now for our living.
You know, hiding behind my textbook and read it entire time, you know. So reading manga, not just watching it, was a big part of, you know, entertainment when I grew up. And that was the case for a lot of kids, you know.
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
Even for me, I'm 40 years old, you know, when I was in school, if you hadn't read manga or seen anime before, like, what?
Very shocking.
Who are you? Like, what do you do, man? Like, it was that popular when I was young. And I mean, today, I think the popularity is way bigger than before.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first thing I read seriously was Naruto. I mean, really, when it was Shonen Jump.
Yep.
And me and my buddy, we would weekly log on to one of these websites that would do the translation, right? So they'd scan it, and then somebody would translate it. And it was like one of the best things every week.
Right.
And I remember you'd go there, you'd find some music, put it on, and then read it, you know, because you want, like, the intense effect from music. But, I mean, that's something I did for many, many years. And it was so enjoyable. It's like being home when you start reading that stuff again. You feel that sensation of comfort. It's such a deep comfort when it's something you've done a lot and that you've appreciated and you had value out of.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There was one, I don't know if you read it. It was a manhwa. So, you know, the Korean manga, essentially.
Yeah, manhwa, they're same words. We just pronounce it differently. But, yeah. Manhwa was... I mean, they try to do the same thing, but, I mean, obviously failed to do so, but...
Well, I don't know if you ever read Priest, but that was a crazy good one.
Oh, yeah, you told me. I've never read it. I
So
saw the
good,
movie
and then
version
just
of it, but...
Let's not talk about... Okay, guys. Never watch the movie versions of pretty much anything you love. It would only make you angry, dissatisfied.
Some of them have done a great job, but most of them did not.
Most
Yeah,
adaptations
of them
are
failed.
poor.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That one,
why.
again, but you had a good story and you decided to do what you did.
Yeah, I mean, also I think the visual difference plays a big role.
Huge.
It's just like Attack on Titan, for example. It's really kind of hard to make it look real.
Mhm.
I mean, CGI and all that, it looks like just so silly.
Yeah.
It's just right there, regardless of the story, like you can't focus because it's so different. It's like it corrupts the beauty of visual beauty of the original anime.
Yeah.
So I
Because you're
think
translating it differently.
yeah.
But there are some that do stand out.
Death Note, the Japanese version came
I
out
haven't
in
watched
early
it.
2000.
Pretty good?
That did a pretty good job. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
I think that's another thing to talk about is so many times we think that life can only be represented, or reality can be only represented through the things we know.
Yeah.
You can represent reality in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And that's really the value, because when you see it represented in a different way, it raises the question. It forces you to question your perception and challenges you to re-engage with it and try to understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be uncomfortable to see something presented in a different way that we're not used to, but there's a lot of joy in trying to extrapolate meaning from things.
Right.
Even things we don't understand. And that can apply to way more than anime. That can apply to music. That can apply to the way somebody lives their life. The more you try to understand, the more you can understand yourself, and maybe in turn learn and grow.
Yeah.
And adapt.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful, because I mean, isn't that like one of the best things in life, to like grow and learn?
Yeah.
We haven't
100%.
ever reached the pinnacle of all knowledge.
Yeah.
Continually growing. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last few days. All the experiences we've had, the experience and actually living and going through it is so much more different than the intellectual understanding.
Absolutely.
So much so that it's hard to even compare the two, to even call them similar things. One's like a very rough representation, and the other's, for lack of a better term, the pure experience of it.
Yeah. I think in other words, I like to say that understanding a concept is to grasp the concept fully, which is a good thing. But that is different from actually experiencing the concept, because that gives you better understanding of what the concept is, its impact, its actual meaning. You fully understand those things when you experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why learning is important, because when you learn something or interact with something, you challenge a lot of existing ideas in your head, your experiences, and you have to adjust in a way to observe is a bad word actually, to fit that concept or idea into your existing structure, right? So that's why learning is so important, and stimuli.
Stimuli?
Yeah, in a way that you expand your thought faculty in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a more robust understanding of the thing that makes you realize you didn't know shit beforehand about that thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's true to say you had an idea of it, but once you have such a deep understanding of it, you feel childish in your previous understandings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've all experienced that in some way. Like, you thought you knew you had it figured out, and lo and behold, something humbles you to realize, like, wow, I had no idea. Now I really have an idea. And it's a wonderful process. It can be hard if you let your ego stay attached.
Yeah.
But when you let go of the ego and you're more open to, potentially I didn't have the fullest understanding of this thing, then your knowledge grows. You get outside that comfort zone, and it grows a little bit more. Yeah. And hopefully that gets to happen for the rest of your life. I'm hoping it happens for the rest of our lives.
Yeah,
'cause
100%.
It's wonderful. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And we're already in like 48 minutes in. Is that correct?
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, but I think it'd be crazy if you don't talk about Miyazaki, right? I mean, he is one of the legends, one of the most important figures, in my opinion, in the anime industry. And obviously, we can talk about all of his work, but I think we can talk about his masterpiece, Spirited Away, a little bit, and arguably, not my opinion, arguably the best animation film of all time. And briefly, just talking about his story, it's about a girl, 10-year-old girl. It's about, I guess, in summary, quest for self-discovery through genuine development. Right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So she's trapped in a new spirit world where she has to adapt and tackle new tasks, right? The crazy part here is that, to me, I was amazed by the fact that the film was made without a script.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because that really signifies Miyazaki's view on natural evolution of self. So in his words, I think he says, what was that? He said, I don't have the story finished and ready when we start to work on a film. It's not me who makes the film. The film makes itself. And I have no choice but to follow.
Wow.
The entire team must instead live the character's reality step by step, and you can feel this intuition. And when I found out about this, it's the same thing as what we're talking
about.
Right?
Yes.
And that's why it was so crazy to me that, okay, self-development, self-discovery, or even, growth in general, like, it doesn't come from plans, destiny. You have to experience it through it,
Yeah.
And again, I mean, there's so many things about this anime film, but that alone to me is, wow. I was just blown away.
It seems like there's a reoccurring thread in these people that
are
very talented. They seem to have tapped into, something that, for lack of a better term, I would say is absolute truth. Again, not absolute, but a very real truth that has real value, and we can see it in these people's work. Musashi, like we were talking about, that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
Now he's saying Nietzsche, similar. All these guys are saying the same thing in different words.
Yeah.
And the credibility of their work lends to their philosophy and their ideas that, maybe there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe that to be truth for sure. That's so cool to see. I had no idea. I didn't know you were going to say that. Yeah. I'm all excited over here.
I don't know about other films, but at least Spirited Away. I saw his interview about it, so I was like, wow. That is crazy.
That is. Oh, dude, I love the little sit balls. They're so cute.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the boldness of doing that. Because if you're working with major production company and you say, as a director, I'm going to make it without a script, and saying all this, right? And they're going to be, what? You're going to do what? Because that may create problems with schedule, money and all that. Right?
Yeah.
But the boldness, because he had a so strong view on it, that it must be made this way.
Yeah.
And that's why he's considered a legend. And this film is, arguably, like I said, the best anime of all time.
Yeah. Wow. Makes me want to go watch it right now.
Yeah, and then another thing that I wanted to talk about the film a little bit is that, because this is important. So this is about development, right, of a young girl. I like to see that as a young person in general, but I know for sure that he was inspired. Yeah, he chose a girl. He was inspired by his friend's daughter or granddaughter, something like that. So he had a specific gender and age in mind. But I like to see this development, a journey of development for a young person, not adult. I mean, it could be adults too, but young person in general. So his view is really interesting because basically he's saying that the development is subtractive, not additive. That's what he's saying, I think. Because we can see this throughout the film. the mud monster. He's not really bad after he, remove all the mud. He's just, after all, he's the god of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing goes to the main character too, Chihiro. Her name is changed to Sen, and there are meanings to it, Chihiro and Sen. So Chihiro has like 3 meanings to it, and Sen has only one of them, one of the 3. So the start for her journey and quest is to subtract part of herself.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes to No Face. He became good in the end after getting rid of all the greed that he had. And lastly, the breach, not the bridge, the two places, the real world and the spirit world, what connects is eternal. It's not a breach. And if you think about it, breach is basically adding structure to space. Whereas tunnel, you get rid of some part of it to make a space.
Yeah.
So I think all this signifies
removing to increase.
Yes, the development is subtractive, not additive.
Yeah.
So I thought that's really interesting.
Addition by
too.
subtraction. Addition by subtraction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wow. It's true. I mean, there's a lot of things we can add to our life by removing specific thoughts or values or things that are holding us back. But we think these things are part of us and they kind of constitute our identity. But they may be hindering us and are actually not representative of our identity.
Yeah.
We're not only the ideas that we hold. We are people that hold ideas.
And then, I just heard that actually he's preparing his comeback. So that's great. But also what's better, in my opinion, is that because a lot of people thought that, okay, what about after Miyazaki? I mean,
who's the guy who did Your Name?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. So I think, we still have, I mean, not we do, but Japan, the industry has exceptional talents, such as, you just mentioned Your Name, but Makoto Shinkai and Mamoru Hosoda, who made Wolf Children and Beast and Boys. So I think we're going to be in a tree for a while. Yeah.
In for a treat.
Yeah, they're only like in the 40s, something like
young.
this.
Yeah,
that's very young. And
Miyazaki is old, and he's still doing it. I was surprised.
Exactly. And then, one of the best films that he made was in his 60s or something like that. I mean, he was not like a young man. That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Princess Mononoke, is that what you're referring to? Or
a lot of them, I think. Yeah. So
90s there.
That also speaks to the depth of the story, right? I mean, this it's not created by a young man. I mean, I'm not saying that all young men can create a great story like that, but you can see the depth of the story from his age and his experiences. Yeah, that's why
into it.
We can expect a lot more than a film made by 20 years old.
Yeah, this is why you should go get experience.
Yeah,
all the people that do really amazing things with their life mostly come from very intense experiences.
Yes.
Or difficulties, but
that's
extremely
really cool.
valuable.
So I think that's about it. I mean, obviously we can talk about anime forever just by talking about our favorite animes, but I guess we can talk about certain subcategories of anime maybe later.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions or
things you think we'd enjoy to watch or check out, our time's definitely limited, but we're very open-minded to hear what you got to say.
Right. So that's it for today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outro. Play the outro.
You're telling me again.
Okay. Outro.
Well, we don't have money for that. I'm sorry. You're going to have...
Okay, guys. See ya.
All right. Goodbye. That's this week's episode of the Theory of Living podcast. Thanks for listening with us. We are Lafayette and Kai. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
And if you'd like to help support us, we have a Patreon page where you can subscribe for exclusive content.
Also, please share it with others who you think may find value in our discussion.
Leave a rating, a review, and please subscribe to the podcast.
Thank you again.
See you next time.